Have you ever had it in your life where you really like something and then one day you're like, I don't like it anymore? Today might be one of those days because it is bloody hot out right now. All right, so I just turned on the fans, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear it with the current mic settings, to be honest, but they are on now. Help keep the rabbits cool. Start doing that here. It is getting a little warmer in Arkansas. You know, one thing too to keep in mind is with homesteading. Like, I think a lot of homesteaders started in 2020. Why? Because of the government's response to COVID-19. And now COVID-19 is essentially over. And people are like, well, it's like the food chain is fine now. So do we continue homesteading or do we go back to relying on the food chain? So I think that's helpful to remember. Like, it's like, why are we homesteading? What are we doing? Are we doing it just because of a scary virus or the government's response? So we may have lost access to food, or is there another reason? So we don't want chemicals on our meat. Is it we want to be self-sufficient so we don't have to rely on the government? Those are all things that to consider, and we need to remember that, and even like be refreshed in our heads about that, and go back to that community aspect. We spent some time with some other homesteaders that we actually connected with because we sold them a rabbit a while back, and got together with them, and it was refreshing for me. One, we do share a common bond around Christ. We homestead, we're different, we do different things. They have more land than us. They have more animals. We do rabbits. They have rabbits, but they haven't been breeding rabbits. There's a difference there. We share some common concerns about government. And I say that just because of the reasons why we may or may not homestead. The Arkansas heat is no joke this year. We're under a heat advisory. It's going to get up to 104. That's not the feels like, that's the actual temperature. And then it will feel hotter than that. So rabbits have ice right now to help cool them off. But it is hot. And I think heat might be one of the reasons why people no longer want to homestead. Just thought. Why are they both in the same spot? Empty? Two.
And these? Well, that one's periwinkle spot.
Weird. You know, the great Justin Rhodes just sent out an email saying that homestead fatigue is a real thing. People get tired of homesteading. It's hard work. The heat, it is exhausting. But do we give up? You know, it is said, I've heard this many times in like business, know your why. And I think that's actually important with homesteading too. Why are we doing this? Why are we crazy to raise our own animals when we have the reliable food system? At least it's usually reliable. You know, for us, there has been times that we've considered, do we need to hang up the homesteading life? In one sense, it'd be easier. We don't have the responsibilities that right now we have chosen to have, such as taking care of the animals. We live in a hot climate. For us, we, maybe you'd say spoil our rabbits, but we give them cold tiles, we give them ice bottles to lean against to help cool them off. Really, I think it's just taking care of our animals. With that comes responsibilities. We have to say no potentially to some things. We have to think through the consequences if we say yes to something else. It's not always bad, but that's something we have to actually think through. So, and what I mean by that is, if we're away, who's going to take care of those animals? Is there a risk with us not being here? Right? There is a responsibility that comes with this lifestyle. The other thing that I think some people think is that homesteading is cheaper. It's a cheaper lifestyle. You'll save money on meat. And maybe you could work it out that way, but that might not actually be the case. It may actually cost you more money than just buying meat at the store. But the kicker is that it's hopefully better quality meat. If it's better quality meat, is it worth spending more on it? That's a question you have to answer for yourself. Now, we are not giving up the homesteading life. Overall, we do like it. We do want to continue growing to be self-sufficient. I think the biggest thing for me personally is to be less dependent, not undependent at the moment, at least. I want to be less dependent on others, less dependent on government. One way to do that is by raising our own meat, raising our own food. I do need to get better at gardening. I don't know a whole lot about that as my wife does, but I am our butcherer. So I have some skills in that area in where we can produce meat for our family. So still, the goal is less dependent on others and to be more self-sufficient. And it's a process to get there, but that is reminding myself of our why.